Thanks for joining us. Now, different countries have evolved techniques and responses to deal with the global economic challenge occasioned by coronavirus. The private sector has equally been active by giving support to ensure government navigates the economic turbulence successfully. And it appears a lot still needs to be done based on the International Monetary Fund (IMF) statement, which indicates that global recovery will be more gradual and further reduce Nigeria's 2020 economic outlook to minus 5.4%, with the World Bank also reducing its focus as concerns around COVID-19 and oil price shock linger. Now, the federal government at its Executive Council meeting on June 23, 2020, approved the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan (NESP) to stabilize the economy by developing a plan that can respond robustly and appropriately to the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's chaired by the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo. The Executive Council comprised several cabinet ministers, as well as the Group Managing Director of the NNPC and the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria. The key highlights of the federal government's intervention include mass agricultural program, which will ensure cultivation of large farmland in every state. Infrastructure is another sector expected to play a pivotal role in the recovery plan. Given support to the informal sector is also part of the plan. Others include business support for micro, small and medium enterprises and harnessing potential science and technology, expansion of the national social investment programs, cutting across non-essential spending, and support for state governments through various programs. Well, this is the Portfolio broadcast on NTA News 24, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria. I'm Comfort Amadu. We will focus on the sustainable economic plan of the federal government post-COVID-19 right after the break. Welcome back. The Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan, developed as a 12-month, 2.3 trillion naira transit plan between the economic recovery and growth plan, is designed for the creation of financial stimulus packages for the Nigerian economy to be funded with 500 billion naira from special federal government accounts and with 1.1 trillion naira from the Central Bank of Nigeria in the form of structured lending. I have with me Dr. Mohammed Sani Bello, lecturer, accountant and financial control department of accounting, Kaduna State University, KASU. All right, let's go straight to the questions of the day. About 335 billion naira from external, bilateral and multilateral sources will also be used to fund the sustainability plan of the federal government. Now, the question is, how will that help the Nigerian economy, especially with the looming recession?
Well, thank you very much. I think the economic sustainability plan is well structured in terms of funding. There are fundings coming from within, that is part of the budget of the 2020, which is about 500 billion coming from there, about 1.2 trillion coming from the central bank, low-cost funds, and from development partners. Then we have the amount you're talking about, 344 billion exactly, coming from the bilateral and multilateral sources. Now, any funding structure, you are dealing with portfolio here. You need to have, all the possible sources, so that if for whatever reason one source fails, the other one will compensate for the other. It would have been wrong if the plan was based on only internal sources or based on only external sources. But it's a mix, so it's a basket of sources, which I think that is what makes the plan so robust, and which obviously is going to allow for the generation of the 2.3 trillion naira that is meant to be spent on the plan. So it is well, and you know, the perception of Nigeria in terms of ability to borrow from bilateral and multilateral sources is very positive. We have seen it in the recent past. Nigeria was able to borrow some funds from the IMF, and then it's also, you know, able to still make some requests to the World Bank and other funding sources, and there is no problem with that. So I think it has to do with the structure, the mixture of the funding source, which is, to me, is robust, and it will help the plan to succeed.
Okay, so how would the sustainability plan of the federal government address the issue of the looming recession?
Okay, it will do it in two ways. One, it is going to inject money into the system. That is the business environment. There's going to be some funding to support, you know, such businesses like the hotels, the restaurants, the transportation sector, you know, that have suffered a lot during the lockdowns. They have not been able to operate. So once money is injected and is given to them in terms of funding support, they will be able to come back to life. Then the second way is the generation of employment. The 774,000 youths that will be employed using the same plan, under the same plan arrangement, is going to help in youths getting some job during the 12 months period. And then not only that, from there, some of them will learn some skills that they can now become self-employed and possibly employ some other people in the future. So with that, I want to believe that recession will be put at bay. We wouldn't encounter recession once this stimulus package is the stimulus arrangement is implemented as per the plan.
Okay, so would that serve as just an interim plan or long-term plan?
Well, it's interim because, I mean, you see, it's a 12 months plan. What we expect is that during the subsisting period, there's going to be another plan that is going to succeed the economic sustainability plan. It's deliberately meant to be a short-term measure, and the long-term or medium-term measure will come to be shortly, I suppose.
Okay, so let me take you back now. Now, the Ministry of Budget and National Planning had flagged off a national development plan to replace the ERGP. Now, what is different about the ERGP and the sustainability plan?
Now, the main difference is that the economic sustainability plan and the economic recovery growth plan, the main difference is that the economic sustainability plan is occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's a deliberate attempt to respond to the challenges issues, and the disruptions in the economy resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. And the economic recovery growth plan is a plan that, you know, we just had one that ended, and the new one that is going to come is going to look at a period beyond the 12 months period that the economic sustainability plan is looking at. So that is one of the main differences. The second difference is that this economic sustainability plan is looking at trying to solve three very important issues. Number one, the low earnings from oil, sales of oil. You know, we had the budget at some $57 per barrel, now reviewed down to $25 per barrel. Then the issue of joblessness is really an issue. And then the other one has to do with the what we call the stimulus that is going to help small businesses to, you know, to come back to life arising from the pandemic. So these three issues that the economic sustainability plan is trying to address would in a way be different from the economic recovery growth plan because it is for this short period and is that, I mean, specifically to address these three major concerns. What we hope is that by 2021, when the pandemic, the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic hopefully subsides, we are going to, the plan is going to have something that will, return the economy, Nigerian economy, to the path of growth. Right now, I mean, we are trying to recover really from the pandemic effect. But the economic recovery growth plan is supposed to deal with the issue of not only sustainability, but, growth. Based on the earlier projections that we have had, which are now affected by the pandemic.
And of course, certainly government is doing a whole lot to recover the economy, including using about 302.9 billion from other sources to fund the economy. But the IMF and World Bank are still predicting that we're going to be facing recession. What else do you think the government can do to avert it?
I think you see projections are projections. Sometimes such projections are there, but the underlying reality will also change, can change the prediction. What I think the Economic Sustainability Plan has done, which if well implemented is going to change that narrative, has to do with the issue of trying to convince Nigerians, to patronize made in Nigeria goods and services, and then to reduce the extent of non-essential spendings on non-essential things that will use our scarce foreign exchange. So if some of these things are done, and then we go through some kind of reorientation, that is as Nigerians, to believe in what we produce, and then to eat what we produce, and then to deepen our efforts in agricultural production, which will now help diversify the economy, such that we, apart from being self-sufficient food-wise, we'll be able to export some of our agricultural products. So by the time we do that, this projection that we are going to be in recession is likely going to change. And I think it is necessary we give the necessary support as citizens, to the government to ensure that this happens, so that we are immune from the predicted recession.
I see that government intends to cultivate between 20,000 and 1,000 hectares of new farmland in every state. And that's include supporting of offtake and agro-processing with low interest credit. Should this be something that government should do alone, or it should be a private partnership thing?
No, I mean, I don't think government will want this. Government cannot do it alone, certainly. Government, I think by this provision, they also mean to say that, okay, farmers and those who will be interested in going into farming should come, and then benefit from the arrangement, so that as so much hectares of land can be cultivated in each of the states that are going to participate. It's not possible for government now to go and mark a certain land and then engage who will they engage to cultivate? It's the same people. So it's going to be like the outgrowers scheme. There will be some kind of schemes that is going to support that vision of cultivating so much hectares of land in order to produce so much food. And as I said, this is one of the ways that we can avert the possibility of going into recession. Because agriculture is a real sector of the economy. Once you deepen our participation in that, and we are able to cultivate so much that we are self-sufficient in terms of food, and then we are able to export to those who need it in other countries, definitely we will not experience a recession.
Okay, so I would like to ask, what do you think government can actually do to make farming attractive to the youths?
I think so far the underlying policies relating to agriculture is good enough. The only thing is some of the farming inputs, especially fertilizer, is the one that farmers are talking about. Once issues relating to fertilizer is settled, and then again, there is the other issue of insecurity. The insecurity that we are experiencing in the northeast and the northwest geopolitical zones is making it difficult for farmers to go to farm. So once the issue of security is settled, Nigerians are not lazy, and I believe they will go to farm, and then they will be able to produce as much as possible. So let's deal with the issue of insecurity, and then let's deal with the issue of input, especially the fertilizer. Fertilizer is one of the things that people still find it difficult to get and at affordable price.
Okay, part of the sustainability plan of the government is to recruit about 1,000 young people with a minimum of 1,000 young Nigerians per local government. That's amounting to about 774,000 direct jobs. Now, should they just do this just across the young people, or it should cut across board?
Well, you see, the young people are the ones that need this job more than the not young. Of course, our definition of young varies.
It's not too young to run, but everyone should be busy.
Yeah, yes, but you see, I don't think once you are talking about 1,000 per local government, it virtually will cover everybody. All what I pray and hope is for this scheme to really take off as soon as possible, and for it to be implemented as planned. 1,000 is a large number if you are looking at local government. Before you can get people who are able to work, are willing to work, up to 1,000, by the time you mop that number, you discover that you will hardly find somebody who is jobless. That is one. Secondly, the multiplier effect of the job that you are going to give to this 774,000 youths is going to create the job that other people who are not employed under the scheme would benefit from. For instance, if you earn some income, you go to the market, you buy some goods, you get some services, and so all the other components of the not working class will be able to find a job, either as as employees of companies or businesses that will be producing the goods and services required by these people who have gotten the job, or probably they also set up their own small businesses.
So where do you see small businesses post-COVID-19?
I think small businesses post-COVID-19, they will come back to life. They'll come back to life, and they would, in fact, they will be on the path of growth, sincerely speaking. Once the economic sustainability plan is implemented correctly, then small businesses will really be smiling.
Thank you very much.
Yes, but you see, one issue that I have observed regarding this economic sustainability plan is the inclusion of issues relating to direct labor in the implementation process. Like now, we are going to build 300,000 houses, and then we are talking about direct labor. Now, direct labor would be difficult in the under the current situation. First, it will impair the issue of standard. Once you go into direct labor, it will be very difficult to ensure standard of whatever you are going to produce, either you are going to construct and so on. Secondly, direct labor in itself, even though it's going to generate jobs, but it's contradictory to the idea of supporting small businesses. So these small businesses, there are those who provide services as contractors. So by the time you say you want to go through direct labor, you are eliminating the contractors and the other service providers in the scheme of things. Meanwhile, these same contractors, once you give them the job, they will have to go and employ both skilled and unskilled labor to be able to deliver on the contract. So you can as well still involve the contractors, that is companies that are registered as businesses, to provide those services and then still achieve the objective of employment. You employ many youths or those who are willing to work through the same process of involving the contractors. And these contractors, as businesses, once they accomplish the tax, they make profit, they will pay tax. So I don't see any reason why we should involve the issue of direct labor in this. And the monitoring and evaluation will also be very difficult. Any agency that is saddled with the responsibility of monitoring those who are going to work as direct laborers, I don't think they will have the capacity to deal with that. So I think in the implementation process, the team working with the vice president or any implementing agencies should really look at this issue of direct labor. I don't think it will fly.
We do appreciate you very much, Dr. Bello Mohammed. Now let's join Bosede Abel for updates of activities at the capital market in the past week.
Hello and welcome to the Market Review segment. Stock market report for the week ended 26 June 2020 indicates that a total turnover of 739.3 million shares worth 8.5 billion naira in 17,248 deals were traded last week by investors on the floor of the exchange. The NSE All-Share Index appreciated 0.02% to close the week at 24,829.02 basis points, with market capitalization at 12.9 trillion naira. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 457.8 million shares valued at 3.7 billion naira traded in 8,062 deals. The consumer goods industry followed with 66.6 million shares worth 2.015 billion naira traded in 3,486 deals. The third place was the oil and gas industry with a turnover of 63.2 million shares worth 380.1 million naira. Trading in the top three equities were FBN Holdings PLC, Guaranty Trust Bank PLC, and Zenith Bank PLC. They jointly accounted for 211.3 million shares worth 3.042 billion naira in 3,623 deals. A summary of price movement chart showed indicate that 18 equities appreciated in price during the week, 43 equities depreciated in price, while 102 equities remained unchanged. And on the global scene, investors continue to monitor developments surrounding the global coronavirus pandemic amid concerns that a surge in cases could impact the reopening of economies. Previously in the session, the U.S. Dow futures had traded more than 100 points lower. However, there was a positive twist in early trading of 29th June as stock futures turned higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average saw an opening gain of more than 100 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq futures were little change, while stocks in Asia were also affected. Nikkei fell 2.3% on the day to close 21,995.04. Shanghai Composite was down 0.61% to 2,961.52, while the Hang Seng Index also dropped 1.01% as of its final hour of trading. European stocks fluctuated on as investors digested latest coronavirus death toll and spiking cases in the U.S., while Africa's stocks opened mostly positive, with Tunisia's Tunidex, Nairobi's All-Share, Namibia's Overall Index, and Ghana's GSE Composite posting gains, while South Africa's GSE Africa Top 40 Index depreciated. And that was the market review for 26th June. I am Bosede Abel.
And that concludes the portfolio at this time. We value your inputs always, so keep the mails coming via the media handles. As always, remember to maintain all social distancing and stay safe and comfort.